So the plan for this morning is to have me make a few words of welcome. Mr. Davidson will explain a little bit about the Big Brother program. Two seniors will make some comments, and Mr. McWhorter will give a charge before we do the pinning ceremony, and then we'll move into registration. It's great to see all of you up this early. I appreciate your being here. It is particularly good to welcome the 7th grade to MBA. There are 124 of you, and you represent over 30 schools and about 40 plus zip codes. And we want to make you a family, and our hope is that by the time we get to the first or second grading periods, you will all have gotten to know one another and built some friendships and found ways to develop this class. Of course, this is an unusual year, but I think together we could make it an exceptional year. We've never had a registration out on the soccer field. The last time I was out here for an event was for the graduation we did for the senior class, and it turned out to be a really nice evening, and I think this morning also proved the same. In terms of making this a really good year, I think the issues that you should focus on are how to be kind and caring and show compassion to one another and to those that you come into contact with. The MBA ideal, or motto, gentleman, scholar, athlete, has always been a nice poetic phrasing for me, and I love the way it encapsulates so much about the school. First, it's prioritized. It speaks plainly that who you are as a person is most important, being a gentleman. Showing an interest in academic pursuits follows that, and then your extracurricular, your athletic involvements would be third in line. But together they all form a more complete person, and that's the beauty of that ideal. What's critical in the 7th grade is for you to build some great habits. We pride ourselves on teaching subjects like grammar and vocabulary and structure, helping students learn how to organize their notebooks. And we believe that if you get those skills now, you are much more of an apprentice in the 7th and 8th grades. And then when you get to the high school, you can branch out and you'll have the strength and know-how to develop more fully. I really like seeing the Big Brothers here this morning. It's one of those programs at the school that is simply flowered in a way that I didn't quite expect. It used to be more of a matter of sort of picking up your 7th grade student on this day, seeing them occasionally, but it's now developed into some significant relationships. And I know the seniors are aware of how much a 7th grader can look up to a senior. I had a letter yesterday from one of the seniors here, and he expressed that he saw his 7th grade buddy, and he could tell just in his eyes and demeanor how much he expected of him. And it made him kind of rethink who he is and what he needed to do. And so it's a really interesting two-way street. It's a situation where both the older student and the younger student knows they both know there are expectations. I hope that we'll be open-minded as you come into MBA. As I said, there are 30 different schools represented, and we want to build, as I said, a family. So I hope all of you will work together to have that open-mindedness about each other. I frequently say that MBA is not about 4 or 6 years, but more about 60 or 70 years. And what that suggests is that if you really get something out of this education and this community, then it'll be important to you not just while you're here, not just in terms of preparing you for college, but in your lifetime. And in fact, I used to say 27 years ago when I'd get up in front of the students that the most important thing about MBA is preparing for college, but it's not. The most important thing is building the kind of person you are, and giving you those skills and that sense of who you are that we hope will last a lifetime. I've talked at most of these meetings this week about what David Brooks calls the resume versus the eulogy virtues, and I hope you'll work on both, but more importantly, I hope you'll work on those eulogy virtues, those issues about yourself that relate to the topics I started with, kindness and care and compassion. Because although your test scores and your grades are important now, they're going to be kind of tickets you can stamp to help you make the next steps. They're not going to be that important throughout your life. What will be important is what kind of friend you are, what kind of person you are, and those are the issues they will talk about in a eulogy. And so that's the distinction that I'm trying to make. And finally, I've had some insights by some of my colleagues, most notably Dr. Creamer, who's a science teacher here, who's seventh graders. Some of you will have him as a teacher. He's dealing with cancer that his wife has. It's a tough situation, but he's one of the kindest people, and I was just taken aback earlier in the year when he came to my office one morning. I was going through some cancer treatments, and he brought me a small gift of a paperweight with a Winston Churchill quotation on it that says, "When you're going through hell, just keep going." And I paused afterwards when he left, and I thought, what a good man. And it's noteworthy today to kind of talk about people like that, to highlight, what kind of people that I hope you will become. So I hope you have a great start today. I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Davison, who will come up and talk a little bit about the Big Brother program.
Good morning. I spoke to the seniors on Wednesday about what this year is going to look like, and it's no surprise that this will probably look unlike any year that's ever existed at MBA. Typical Big Brother, Little Brother events. This year, seniors will remember halftime events at football games, pack the house basketball games, battle ball games, breakfast together, all of which I'm hoping we can do in some capacity, but it'll certainly look different, especially in the first semester. My first charge to you is if you have ideas of ways of engaging safely this year, please contact me. Seniors know the school well, but I would love to hear from seventh graders too. If there's some activity you think we can do safely as a Big Brother, Little Brother group, I would love to hear it. My second charge to you is to stay in contact. There is certainly a dynamic between most Big Brothers and Little Brothers that the little brother looks up to the senior and really values that relationship, and any effort the senior makes is great and really appreciated by the seventh grader, but there's a shift next year. And as much as the seniors this year are looking forward to graduation and college and what lies ahead, almost I hope all of you next year will look back and miss MBA and want to have that connection. And if you build this relationship with your seventh grader this year, even in odd circumstances, you're going to have a link to the school for the next 5 years. I think those who have developed those relationships have really found them fruitful when they're in college to stay in contact with what's happening at MBA. How's the football team doing? What's the wellness center look like? Having that link with someone who's still going to be here won't exist if your only friends are in the senior class. So I give you those two challenges. Please do everything you can to build your relationship with your seventh grader, even though the setting this year is uncommon. And secondly, if you have ideas, please come contact me. You can email or stop by my classroom in Lowry 21 if you want to do a quick, or probably email is best early in the year, but later in the year if you want to stop by. I'd love to hear your ideas. I'm looking forward to what will be certainly a weird, but hopefully exceptionally great year as well. I'm going to welcome up next James Murph to make a few comments. Thanks.
Hey guys, I'm James Murph, and I came into MBA in 7th grade. Today I'm going to be giving you guys some advice that I've been told by others or have learned myself while at MBA. My first piece of advice is to keep your head up and keep on trucking. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that MBA is a walk in the park, because it's not. It's one of the top high schools in Tennessee. It's going to be a struggle being here. There'll be times where it's hard. There'll be times where nothing's going your way, whether it be a bad test grade or you don't make the soccer team tryouts. But you have to remember there's always the next test and there's always another sport. Personally, in the spring of my 8th grade year, I tried out for the bowling team. And I didn't make it, so that was, kind of a bummer. but I didn't let that mistake negatively affect me, and I still needed to join a sport, so I figured I'll just join the rowing team. You know, it'll be a temporary sport until I find something better. But by the end of my spring rowing season, I had a varsity letter in crew, but more importantly, a love for the sport. So because I didn't let the bowling tryout mistake negatively affect me, I found a perfect fit for myself on the rowing team. My next piece of advice would be find what makes you happy here at MBA, whether it be friends, classes, sports, or playing in the band. If you find what makes you happy at MBA, it really makes going to MBA in the morning a lot easier. So if you wake up looking forward to something, every day will seem a lot nicer. Personally, I look forward to seeing my friends every day and hanging out with them during the day. So instead of dreading going to school, I get to look forward to seeing them and talking about whatever's happening. It doesn't matter what you look forward to. It can be anything. All that matters is that it makes you happy. And then my final piece of advice would be to ask for help when you need it. So all the faculty and staff here are more than qualified to help you with any questions you might have. Same with us big brothers. We're put in contact with you to help you. So don't be afraid to ask us any questions. Any of us are happy to answer them. And also your fellow classmates. So you guys are going to be with each other for 6 years essentially, and more guys are going to be coming into your grade and stuff. But if you guys have any help or need any help, ask each other. Figure out how to do the problem together. So that's really all I had to say. Thanks for listening. Good luck and roll red.
Ashton, would you please come up?
I would like to start by saying welcome to MBA. I know it's a little intimidating at first, but you'll get used to it. MBA is one of the schools that is what you make of it. With that being said, I'd like to give you 3 pieces of advice. First, find things that make you happy and passionate. When I chose to take art for a quarter my 7th grade year, I never knew I enjoyed so much or I'd be good at it. I also didn't know I'd take it for the next 5 years of my school career and end up in an exhibit in the Frisch Art Museum. I also discovered that I have a vibrant passion for activism for Black people and other minorities. With the support of some of my teachers, I've held events and taught people so much about how it is to be Black in America and the realities of the world for us. That brings me to my next piece of advice, which is to surround yourself with people who will help you and allow you to grow, whether that be fellow peers or teachers. MBA is a community-based school, and there are people who care about you, so never be afraid to reach out or speak out against anything, even if your friends wouldn't support it. You should never feel not welcome to be yourself. Finally, I hope that you take advantage of your time here and the resources and opportunities the school offers. As some of my senior fellow classmates know, I am one of the most unathletic people ever. So when I found out we had to take a sport every quarter, that kind of freaked me out. But when I got to MBA, I found out I could do theater, and I also got the opportunity to work with one of our athletic doctors at my time. So that was a great thing that they allowed me to do. And I also like to leave you with the fact that never be afraid to try something new, because you might fall in love with it. Thanks.
Thanks, Ashton and James. Mr. McWhorter's coming up on my left, graduated from MBA in 2002. He has a great family tradition as well about being at MBA. His father went here, had siblings go here, and he came back a number of years ago to teach and to coach, and he's someone who cares about and loves the school a great deal. Join me in welcoming Mr. Russell McWhorter.
All right, guys, before we get going, Mr. Sawyer wants me to double check with the seniors to make sure you guys have your pens. If you don't have a pen for your 7th grade, raise your hand and he'll bring one by. All right. Good morning to my colleagues and the faculty and staff and to the classes of 2021 and 2026. My name is Mr. McWhorter, and I teach English in the 7th grade in Massey and grammar vocab as well. About a month ago, Mr. Sawyer asked me to speak to you guys about the NBA community and kind of the special nature of this day. What he didn't know when he asked me was that speaking in front of large crowds is my biggest fear, other than the high dive. Here I am, a little uncomfortable speaking in front of you, and there you guys are, probably more uncomfortable in your jacket and your tie and mask in 80-degree heat. So let's make this quick. It was way back in 1996. I was 12 years old, just like you guys are now. From where I'm currently standing, I think I could throw a baseball into the front yard of my old house. Like many of you, NBA was a familiar place even before I became an enrollee here. I was a sports camper. I had family members go here. I knew some players and some coaches in the mid-'90s like Coach Anderson. And I knew where the unlocked doors were to get into the gym late at night. I felt like my whole academic career, K through 6, was kind of pointing me to 7th grade when I'd finally be a student here. Needless to say, on this day about 24 years ago, I was nervous at the breakfast table as I waited on my big brother to come pick me up and bring me to registration. By generous estimates, our car ride lasted about 120 seconds up Wilson here and down Kempalong, which is now the parking lot by the tennis courts. But Carter Payne had me heaving for air and wiping my eyes and laughing my face off when he recalled the stories about how his dented Honda Civic had gone from a teenager's Ferrari to a garbage can with an engine in it. Apparently, everything that was wrong with Carter's car, the one working speaker, the smell of a dirty wet towel, and the passenger window that had to be rolled and pulled down simultaneously, were the result of frequently regular and righteously passionate disagreements between 3 of his best friends, who just so happened to be triplet brothers. I don't remember every detail about how or why Carter's car seemed to be the venue of choice for these quarrelsome brothers, but I do know that their fighting nature turned them into pretty good wrestlers for Coach Simpson. Anyways, by the time we had parked, I wasn't so nervous anymore. Before I wrap up, I want to challenge the big brothers to make your guy laugh a little bit today. This is a big day for a 12 or 13-year-old, the 12 or 13-year-old sitting near you right now. Treat him as part of the NBA family because he is one now, even though he might not know quite what that entails yet. Remember how you felt when you were sitting in his seat 5 years ago, or remember how you felt on your first big homework night or your first semester exams or the first time you got cut from a sports team. You're a bigger influence to these guys than you know. As a final added bonus, you'll be doing NBA a service by leaving it a better place. When these guys are sitting in your chair 5 years from now, okay, they're going to remember this day. And lastly, to the class of 2026, welcome to the Hill. Take a deep breath of fresh mask air if you need it, if you're feeling overwhelmed today. Before you sign the registry, I want you to do 2 things. Ask your big brother for one little piece of advice and one big piece of advice that he'd wish he'd had when he was a 7th grader. Okay? My hope is that in a few weeks, when you need more advice, he'll have the confidence to shout at you in the courtyard. I think that simple gesture will help you learn that NBA only becomes this vast, rewarding place of opportunity and entertainment and challenges once you familiarize yourself with all of the people in its community. Now for the first of many important traditions, the NBA pinning ceremony. Your NBA big brother will now present your NBA pin as a symbol to mark this day and to recognize that you are now beginning your education at Montgomery Bell Academy. With this pin, we pledge our support and resources. We recognize your immense potential. While you enter here as a young boy, we all anticipate the coming years that you will continue to become a good man and honor the ideals of gentleman, scholar, and athlete. Thank you. Yeah. So if you guys would stand now, 2026 and 2021. You may now pin your little brother.
Robert? Well, thanks again, Mr. McWhorter, Ashton, James, Mr. Davidson. Some great advice, and we appreciate your being part of this program this morning. We were worried about this program because of the weather, but I'm really glad we could be together and to do the program this morning. And yesterday I was thinking about the program, and as unusual as this year is, I kind of bemoaned the fact that there was no food set up or planned. And so I then went to the dining hall and said, let's get some sausage and biscuits for these guys this morning. So, with that being said, here are my two announcements. On my left, Miss Susan has just put out some sausage and biscuits, so everybody take one. And there's some water, I believe, and maybe something else over there. And so spend a couple of minutes talking with your little brother and one another. And then after that, we'll call the attention, Ms. Stewart will, to get the 7th graders to come back to these seats and conclude the program. And then the seniors, if you will just go on, I believe you're in 3 locations. You've gotten an email about it. Is that correct? Good. Okay, so you know what to do from there. I appreciate your attention. Please have something to eat. Thanks.